Have you ever walked down a deserted street at twilight, perhaps in a city you don't know well, and felt a sudden cold shiver of suspicion that the reality around you was nothing more than a stage set? A feeling that the flat painted facades of the houses were hiding a deeper, weirder, and infinitely more terrifying truth, where the laws of physics have been replaced by the logic of a fever dream. To stand before Paul Klee's Villa R, painted in the radioactive political fallout of 1919, is to confront that exact sensation, but magnified by the lens of a genius who had stopped trusting the visible world entirely. This is not a landscape. It is a crime scene of the mind. If you are looking for a pretty picture of a house by the road to hang above your sofa, you are in the wrong place. In fact, if you look at this painting and see whimsy, you are failing the test. This painting is a psychological battery that has been holding a charge for over a century. To understand why it is a masterpiece, we have to strip away the polite gallery whispers, burn down the academic jargon, and look at the brutal, eerie mechanics of what Klee is actually doing. He is not painting a house. He is painting the precise moment when the rational world fractures and the mystical bleeds through. He is showing us that the alphabet is as physical as a brick wall and that a road can lead not to a destination, but into a void. To truly grasp the magnitude of Villa R, you have to understand that art does not happen in a vacuum. It happens in the mud and blood of history. You cannot understand this painting without smelling the smoke in the air of 1919. This is the context that most textbooks sanitize because it is uncomfortable. World War I had just ended, leaving Europe a graveyard of young men and old ideals. The German Empire had collapsed into a heap of rusted iron and broken promises. In Munich, where Klee was living and working, the chaos was absolute. The Bavarian Soviet Republic, Räterepublik, had been declared, a brief chaotic experiment in communist rule led by poets and dreamers. And then it was violently, brutally crushed by the Freikorps, right-wing paramilitary militias who would later form the backbone of the Nazis. There was blood in the streets. There were summary executions. The intellectual class, Klee included, was terrified. Klee himself was singled out by the counter-revolutionaries. His apartment was searched. His friends were killed or exiled. He was labeled a Galician Jew, though he was neither, by the reactionary press. He didn't just paint a picture. He painted this while sitting in the eye of a political hurricane. He briefly fled to Switzerland to escape the madness, but the bureaucracy there was slow, and he remained trapped in a collapsing Germany. Villa R was born in this crucible. It is a war painting that shows no war. When the world makes no sense, when the political slogans are screaming and the institutions are burning, the intelligent artist does not try to paint the chaos realistically. That would be redundant. Instead, the artist retreats into the fortress of the interior. Villa R is that fortress. It is a painting of a sanctuary, but it is a sanctuary that feels haunted, a refuge that sits on the edge of a nightmare. The first thing that smacks you in the face, the thing that makes you stop and question your own sanity, is the letter, the R. It stands there, solid, distinct, and unapologetic, painted in a deep, mossy green, floating in the foreground like a corporate logo from a dimension that hasn't been discovered yet. This is Klee's genius and his insolence. In the history of Western painting up to this point, letters belonged in books, on tombstones, or on signs within the painting. Think of the café signs in Impressionism. They were subservient to the image. They were captions. Klee takes the letter and turns it into a protagonist. The R is not a label. It is a physical object in the landscape. It has weight. It occupies space. It is as real as the house. Why R? The academics have spent decades tying themselves in knots over this, writing endless papers trying to decode the cipher. Is it Villa R for Villa Rosa? Is it R for revolution? Is it R for republic? Is it R for ruin, ruin? Is it a reference to the French word rêve, dream? Or is it, as some biographers suggest, a reference to a specific doctor or location Klee knew? Klee, the master of irony and the keeper of secrets, refuses to answer, and that is the point. By placing a linguistic symbol in a visual landscape, he creates a short circuit in your brain. The part of your mind that reads text, that is the letter R, and the part of your mind that looks at images, that is a green shape. collide. This creates a cognitive dissonance, a sense of wrongness that creates tension. The R marks the house like a brand on cattle. It suggests a secret society, a password, a hidden meaning that you, the viewer, are not privy to. It transforms the house from a generic building into a specific mysterious entity. It is the Villa R. You don't know who lives there, but you know instinctively that you probably shouldn't knock on the door. It turns the alphabet into architecture. But look closer at the R and how it interacts with the road. This is where KLEE proves he is not just doodling, he is engineering. The white road winds up from the bottom of the canvas, snakes past the green letter, and disappears behind the house. Visually, the white curve of the road acts as the leg of the letter R. The landscape itself is completing the typography. This is a brilliant visual pun. The environment and the symbol are fused. The road is part of the language. This suggests that in KLEE's world, you cannot separate the symbol from the reality. We walk on words. We live inside concepts. Let's analyze the road itself. In a Renaissance painting, a road is a tool of perspective. It is a mathematical device used to draw your eye to the horizon, creating an illusion of infinite depth and placing you, the viewer, in a position of command. KLEE's road in Villa R mocks this tradition. It is a flat, winding ribbon that seems to be cut out of paper. It enters from the bottom, winds past the house, and then simply stops or disappears behind the structure. It doesn't go to a horizon. It goes into the dark. It creates a sense of claustrophobia. The road invites you in, but it promises no exit. It suggests that the journey is internal, winding into the subconscious, rather than external, leading to a town. It is a path that has been flattened by the sheer weight of the atmosphere. The celestial mechanics of this painting are equally disturbing. Look at the sky. It is not blue. It is a murky, suffocating darkness, painted in deep browns and reddish blacks. It feels hot, oppressive, like the sky over a burning city. And hanging in this void is a moon, or perhaps a sun, that defies logic. It is painted in a pale, sickly yellow ochre. It doesn't glow with the natural light. It sits there like a dead eye. A yellow moon in a dark red sky creates a sense of wrongness, known in color theory as discord. It's not complimentary, it's agitating. It suggests a world where the natural order has been inverted. This is KLEE telling you that this landscape is not illuminated by the physics of the solar system, but by the intensity of the psychic state. It is a black sun moment, a symbol of melancholy and mystic revelation. The darkness around the house isn't night. It's the void. It's the nothingness that threatened to swallow Europe in 1919. The house stands against it, illuminated by this strange internal radiation. The architecture of the villa itself is a masterclass in the primitive sophistication that KLEE perfected. It looks like a child's drawing of a castle, blocky, simple, geometric. But look closer. It is a fortress. It has no welcoming door. The windows are black voids, empty eyes staring back at you. It is defensive. It sits on a hill, guarded by the road and the vegetation. The forms are reduced to their absolute essence, triangles for roofs, squares for walls. This is KLEE applying the lessons of cubism, the breaking down of form, but stripping away the analytical coldness of Picasso or Braque. He keeps the geometry but fills it with mood. The house feels alive, almost like a face watching you. It has a personality. It is stubborn. It stands against the dark background with a stoic resolve. In 1919, the idea of a house, of a stable structure, was a fantasy. KLEE paints the fantasy, but he paints it with the somber colors of reality. We must also talk about the materiality of the work. KLEE didn't paint this on a pristine, high-end canvas. He painted it on cardboard, oil on cardboard. This is crucial. Cardboard is a humble, disposable material. It absorbs paint differently than canvas. It creates a matte, dry texture. KLEE loved this poverty of materials. It makes the painting feel like an artifact, a piece of scrap that has survived a disaster. You can feel the texture of the board. It rejects the slick, polished finish of the Academy. KLEE builds the paint up in layers, giving the walls of the villa a tactile, stucco-like quality. He is a builder as much as a painter. He constructs the image. Why is this a masterpiece? Because it is the bridge between the old world and the new. It sits right on the fault line between expressionism, the emotional distortion of reality, and surrealism, the dream logic. But KLEE does something neither of those movements quite managed. The expressionists screamed. KLEE whispers. The surrealists tried to shock you with melting clocks and burning giraffes. KLEE unsettles you with a simple letter. Villa R is a masterpiece of economy. It uses the bare minimum of visual information to create a maximum sense of mystery. It is a haiku of dread. It also challenges the viewer's need for narrative. We are hardwired to want a story. Who lives in the villa? Why is the road empty? What does the R mean? KLEE denies us the narrative. He gives us the setting and the mood, but he withholds the plot. This forces the viewer to project their own anxieties onto the canvas. The painting becomes a mirror. If you are afraid, the villa looks menacing. If you are tired, the villa looks like a resting place. It is a metaphysical painting in the truest sense. It deals with the things that exist beyond the physical realm. It forces you to confront the silence. Furthermore, Villa R validates the sign as art. Decades before pop art made logos famous, before Jasper Johns painted flags and targets, KLEE was painting letters and arrows. He understood that, in the modern world, we navigate by signs as much as by landmarks. The R is a precursor to the bombardment of logos and branding that would define the 20th century. But KLEE strips the commercialism away and returns the letter to its mystical roots. In the beginning was the Word, and in KLEE's universe, the Word takes physical form. He reminds us that letters are magic sigils, arbitrary lines that we have agreed contain meaning. By isolating the R, he makes us look at it as a shape, stripping it of its utility and returning it to its primal form. There is also a profound loneliness in this picture. It is a landscape without people. The windows are dark. The road is empty. It captures the isolation of the modern individual. In the aftermath of the war, the collective spirit was broken. Everyone was locked inside their own Villa R, their own private fortress of trauma and memory. KLEE captures that existential solitude perfectly. It is not a lonely painting that asks for pity. It is a lonely painting that demands respect. It stands apart. It suggests that true understanding requires solitude. To dismiss Villa R as simple or childlike is to fail the test of visual literacy. Its simplicity is a trap. It is the simplicity of a Zen koan or a mathematical equation that explains the universe. KLEE has removed everything that is not essential. He has distilled the landscape down to house, road, moon, and letter. This reduction creates a density of meaning. Every element has to carry the weight of the composition. If you remove the R, the painting collapses into a generic landscape. If you remove the yellow moon, the tension vanishes. It is a perfectly balanced mechanism of unease. We must also consider the concept of inner emigration. This term became popular later during the Nazi era to describe artists and intellectuals who stayed in Germany but mentally withdrew from the regime. But KLEE was practicing this in 1919. Villa R is the ultimate destination of the inner emigrant. It is a place that does not exist on any map. It is located in the geography of the soul. By painting it, KLEE is reclaiming his agency. He cannot control the politics of Munich. He cannot stop the fighting in the streets, but he can build Villa R. He can order his own universe. This act of creation is an act of defiance. It says, "You may destroy the world out there, but you cannot touch the world in here." The painting also engages with the uncanny, or das Unheimliche, a concept Sigmund Freud published an essay on in 1919. The exact same year this painting was made. The uncanny is not just something scary. It is something familiar that has become strange. A house is familiar. A letter is familiar. A road is familiar. But the way KLEE combines them makes them deeply unsettling. The house is too quiet. The letter is too big. The road goes nowhere. He takes the domestic and makes it alien. He shows us that we are strangers in our own world. This is the defining sensation of modernism, the feeling of being homeless in a world that is rapidly changing. Let's look deeper at the interplay between the R and the vegetation. To the left of the house, there are simple, stylized forms representing trees or bushes. They are painted with the same solidity as the house, but the R is also painted with that solidity. KLEE is leveling the hierarchy of reality. In his world, a man-made concept, a letter, is just as real, just as organic as a tree. This is a profound philosophical statement. It suggests that our ideas, our language, and our symbols are not just abstractions. They are real forces that shape our landscape. We live in a forest of symbols just as much as we live in a forest of trees. KLEE visualizes this reality. The composition is also a study in stability versus instability. The house is a stable triangle and square. It sits firmly, but the road is sinuous and unstable. The R is upright but feels like it could topple or float away. The moon hangs in a void. KLEE balances these opposing forces to create a dynamic equilibrium. It is a snapshot of a world in suspension. It feels like the moment before something happens. Will the R fall? Will the sun set? Will someone come out of the house? The painting holds its breath. Finally, Villa R remains a masterpiece because it refuses to die. It refuses to become a period piece. You can look at it today, in our world of digital avatars, augmented reality, and fake news, and it still makes sense. We still live in a world where symbols float over reality, where the road ahead is uncertain, and where we are all looking for a fortress against the encroaching dark. We are all trying to decipher the giant letters in our own skies. KLEE didn't just paint a house in 1919. He painted a state of mind that is permanently, uncomfortably human. He showed us that the world is not what we see, but what we read into it. And he left us that green R as a permanent question mark, a reminder that the mystery is the only thing that is real. When you leave the presence of this painting, you don't just walk away with an image in your head. You walk away with a nagging feeling. You might look at the street signs outside the museum and wonder if they are watching you. You might look at your own house and wonder what secrets it is keeping. That is the power of KLEE. He doesn't just show you a new world. He changes the way you see this one. He infects you with his vision. And Villa R, with its silent green sentinel and its pale, watchful moon, is the patient zero of that infection. It is a painting that demands you stop looking and start seeing. It is a masterpiece not of paint, but of thought.